All right, what's up, people? Happy Father's Day to everyone out there with known or unknown little kids running around. You ever wonder why that bitch never called you back? Maybe she got what she wanted and she didn't feel like letting you know through papers. I'm just fucking around. All right, so number four. Now, number 4, 5, and 6 are very interesting because we go Hegel, Derrida, and Wittgenstein. And so, like, I'm seeing where this is going, and I'm kind of liking it, but then Wittgenstein, they're all interesting. They're all very, very, very interesting. Hegel is like, do you judge him based just solely on his own particular philosophy, or do you judge him based on his influences? Because I think if you judge him based on his influences, meaning the people that he influenced, then he's kind of garbage. Because this is where Marxism comes from. It comes directly from Hegel. So, can you separate the art from the artist? Or in this case, can you separate the philosopher from his students? They might not have even been his students. They might have just been people that were inspired by him. It's kind of like the whole thing about E.A. Koetting. Like, E.A. Koetting had a philosophy or a theology or whatever the fuck you want to call it, a grifting thing going on. And some kid took it too far and was like hunting and killing little girls. I don't blame E.A. Koetting for that. So it would be unfair for me to blame Hegel for Marx, right? Based on my own logic, right? So I'll try not to. But I see where it's going into Derrida and etc. Now, here's the thing, and what I think these German idealists, and Kant was probably the first. It was Kant, Fichte, then Hegel, right? That's the order of it, at least as far as I never really trained too deep into the what do they call it, the continental philosophies, because I was more analytical, which was largely based in the British Isles. So there's always that distinction. I always preferred the mathematical rigor of what might be called now analytic philosophy over the romantics and the idealists and the poets and in the sense. It's just because I'm left brain dominant. I'm right-handed. I'm left brain dominant, etc. But what can be said about Hegel? Like, what was his, his dialectic, his phenomenology, trying to understand the nature of the world. Of course, everybody does that. What is unique to Hegel? In a sense, was it Aufheben? Where you're basically, and see, this is where we start getting into Wittgenstein and language games and stuff like that. We're getting later on into the thing after Derrida. It's just like, I see where it's going. And it's kind of like, none of this, by the way, none of this is meant to be like, I'm going to tell you exactly what this person thought. And here, I'm being critical. Because you give me a list of 10 names, and there's no way I'm going to be able to do I'd have to do a video series, anything like that. If you want to really know the ins and outs, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to everybody else. You really want to know the ins and outs of Hegel's philosophy, go look it up. It's not really worth my time to delve into minutiae of these individuals. But I think Hegel represents a turn in philosophy that I find, and it's not his fault, maybe he was just some, ivory tower thought process, like guy lost in his own fucking mind trip type dude, if that makes any sense. So like, he's very rigorous, he's very detailed in his derivations of things. And that's the funny thing about philosophy, is that what you do is you start out with first principles and then you derive other principles from those first principles. It's almost like math, but without the rigorous nature of it. So you can kind of be kind of fluid in it. You can introduce new things without, just call them axioms and just bring them in. You know what I mean? Presuppositions, if you will. See, what I see going on here in this list, just in general, is that there's a lot of monism involved. And, okay, I mean, you either have monism or you have dualism, right? Or you have a negation of the both, or you have a non-dualism, or you can end up ultimately with a nihilism. So I get that. I just, again, I have trouble separating the art from the artist. Because in the case of Hegel, he influenced so many bad philosophies that came after him. One of which we'll get to after this one. And then Wittgenstein, you can kind of read a couple of different ways. So there's the early versus the late, that type of shit. But I don't really find that much of value in Hegel, to be honest with you. I think, somebody once said, I forget who the fuck said this, but they said all of philosophy after Plato is just basically a footnote to Plato. I don't agree with that, because I actually think Plato versus Aristotle, then you have Hume versus Kant, then you have Hegel versus who? Well, I would say the entirety of modern philosophy, to be honest with you. What I consider modern philosophy is the analytical school. So it's like, is he the last of the metaphysicians? The last of the quote-unquote idealists, if you will? Idealism is kind of weird, because I don't know if I would... He's normally classed as an idealist, but I don't know if I would really call him that. But yeah, so... Damn, you gave an interesting list, man. I got to give you that. That's an interesting list. But I see the progression that you're going for, and I like the fact that you put it in progressive order. So, yeah. Oh, a thing that I left out of my progressive video. End the war on drugs. Immediately. Anywho. Well, who's next again? Oh, Derrida. This should be fucking fun. Except it won't. None of these videos are fun. I just open a door for the rest of my audience to think about these things. Think about the influence of Hegel. I think it was largely negative. I don't think that he really... I mean, was it a consistent philosophy within and of itself? Perhaps, but what did it really accomplish other than what it accomplished, which is not good? It's ultimately Karl Marx. So, anywho, happy Father's Day, everybody. I'm not making another video today. I'm just going to jerk off all day, because that's what fathers do all day. Seriously. Nah, seriously. Where am I? Wait. The lady doth protest too much? I'm not a lady, motherfucker. I'm a dude. I know the definition of a woman.